The job listing was simple: fire lookout wanted, remote location, good pay. It seemed like the perfect escape. No bosses breathing down my neck, no annoying coworkers, and best of all, solitude. I wasn't in the best place mentally, recently dumped, sick of my dead-end job, and desperate for a change. When I saw the ad, I applied without thinking twice. A week later, I got a call. The man on the other end introduced himself as Supervisor Daniels. His voice was deep, calm, and oddly reassuring. "You sure you're up for this?" he asked. "It's not your typical job. No phone service, no visitors. Just you, the tower, and the forest." "That's exactly what I need," I replied. A chuckle. "All right, then. You start Monday. Meet me at Base Camp 5 at noon." The pay was shockingly good, $5,000 for a single month. That alone should have been a red flag, but I was too eager to escape my life to question it. The arrival. Monday arrived, and so did I. Base Camp 5 was a small ranger station at the edge of the dense Blackwood National Forest. The air was crisp with pine and damp earth. A single dirt road led deeper into the woods. Daniels was waiting for me, a tall, burly man in his 50s with graying hair and sharp blue eyes. He wore a standard ranger uniform but carried himself with the air of someone who had seen things. "You're early," he said approvingly, extending a hand. His grip was firm. I didn't want to get lost. He smirked. "Good. Getting lost out here can be bad." Before I could ask what he meant, another man emerged from the station. He was younger than Daniels, maybe mid-30s, but something about him seemed worn out. Sunken eyes, pale skin. Daniels introduced him as Tom, the lookout I was replacing. Tom didn't say much. Just stared at me, then muttered, "Good luck," before shoving past and disappearing into his truck. Daniels watched him go and sighed. He lasted 3 months. Longer than most. I frowned. Is it really that bad? Daniels ignored the question and gestured for me to follow him. We got into his Jeep and started down the winding dirt road toward my post. The fire lookout tower. The tower sat in a clearing atop a hill, overlooking miles of untouched wilderness. It was old but sturdy, a wooden structure about 50 feet high, with a single-room cabin at the top. "Everything you need is inside," Daniels said as we climbed the stairs. "Radio, supplies, a cot, a stove. Power comes from solar panels. There's a well for water. You're stocked up for a month." The interior was simple: a bed, a tiny kitchen area, shelves filled with logs and maps, and a large desk with binoculars and a radio, my only link to the outside world. Daniels handed me a notebook. "Read the rules. Follow them exactly. If you break them, you're on your own." I raised an eyebrow. "That's serious?" He locked eyes with me. "Yes." Then he turned and left. The rules. I sat at the desk and opened the notebook. Inside, written in neat, careful handwriting, were the rules. Always answer the radio. No matter what time, no matter what you hear. Log any smoke sightings immediately. Even if they disappear. You may hear voices in the forest at night. Do not respond. If you see someone below the tower between midnight and dawn, do not let them in. Even if they say they need help. Before going to sleep, lock the hatch. Check twice. You will receive a nightly report at exactly 11:30 p.m. Read it. Follow any new instructions. If the radio ever goes silent for more than an hour, you must leave immediately. Do not leave the tower after dark. Ever. I chuckled. This had to be a joke. Some weird hazing ritual for rookies. But the more I read, the more uncomfortable I felt. Voices. People wandering around at night. What the hell kind of job was this? Nightfall. The first day was uneventful. I spent hours scanning the treetops through binoculars, watching for smoke, getting familiar with the landscape. It was peaceful. Then the sun set. At 11:30 p.m., as promised, the radio crackled. Base camp to Lookout 7. Nightly report. I grabbed the radio. This is Lookout 7. Go ahead. Daniel's voice came through, but it was different, lower, almost whispering. Everything looks good. No fires reported. Usual weather patterns. Check the hatch before sleeping. I glanced up. Check the hatch. That was one of the rules. I was going to, I said, feeling a little unnerved. A pause. Then. Good. Don't forget. Sleep well. Then silence. I grabbed my flashlight and checked the hatch, a metal trapdoor in the floor that led to the stairs below. It was locked. I checked again. Still locked. Satisfied, I climbed into bed. It was just a job. Just a tower. Just a forest. The whispering. Sometime past midnight, I woke up. Something was wrong. It was the silence. No wind. No crickets. No distant hoots of owls. Just, nothing. Then I heard it. A whispering voice drifting up from the trees below. I froze. Was someone out there? I sat up, heart hammering. The whispering grew louder, but I couldn't make out words. It wasn't just one voice, it was many. Layers of soft murmurs, all blending together. I grabbed my flashlight and crept to the window. Big mistake. Down below, just outside the ring of trees, a figure stood. Not moving. Just standing there, staring up at the tower. My breath caught in my throat. It was too dark to see details, but I knew they were watching me. A part of me wanted to call out. To ask if they needed help. But then I remembered rule number 3. Do not respond. I backed away from the window, trying to stay out of sight. The whispering continued. My skin crawled. Then, something worse. A voice. Clear. Right below the tower. Hey. It was a woman's voice. Soft. Sweet. Wrong. Please, help me. I squeezed my eyes shut. Do not respond. Do not respond. The voice turned desperate. I'm lost. Please. Just let me in. I clamped my hands over my ears. My pulse pounded in my skull. A long silence. Then, in a whisper so faint I almost didn't hear it. You checked the hatch, right? My heart stopped. I turned slowly toward the floor. The hatch was unlocked. I stared at the hatch, my blood running ice cold. I locked it. Twice. I know I did. The whispering outside had stopped. Silence, thick and suffocating, wrapped around the tower. I could feel something watching me, waiting. I forced myself to move, inching toward the hatch as quietly as possible. My hands trembled as I gripped the metal handle. Slowly, I pressed it down. Unlocked. My stomach twisted. No. No, this isn't right. I locked it before bed. I checked it after Daniels told me to. So how the hell was it unlocked now? A cold draft seeped through the cracks of the floorboards. Something was beneath the tower. Then. Creak. A footstep. On the stairs. The blood drained from my face. My breath hitched. I scrambled backward, pressing myself against the wall. Another step. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. I grabbed the only weapon I had, a rusted fire poker from the supply shelf, and clenched it tight. The air felt thick, suffocating. Whatever was coming up those stairs wasn't human. I squeezed my eyes shut, silently praying it would just go away. But then. Knock. 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 Soft tapping. Right against the hatch. I stopped breathing. Then. Click. The hatch handle twisted. Something was trying to open it. My shaking hands gripped the fire poker tighter. My mind screamed at me to move, to run, to do something, but I was frozen in terror. A whisper slithered through the cracks in the wood. I see you. I nearly dropped the poker. The voice was wrong. Like someone trying to mimic human speech but failing, each word stretched, broken, mangled. Let me in. The handle jerked violently. I snapped out of my paralysis, lunged forward, and slammed the latch down, locking the hatch again. Silence. A long, unbearable silence. Then, laughter. Not loud. Not hysterical. Soft. Amused. Mocking. I backed away slowly, sweat pouring down my face. The laughter faded, followed by the sound of retreating footsteps. First down the stairs. Then into the forest. And then, once again, silence. The morning after. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink. I sat in the corner of the tower, gripping the fire poker like my life depended on it. Because maybe it did. By the time dawn broke, I was still sitting there, staring at the hatch. Had it really happened? Was I losing my mind? The radio crackled. Base camp to lookout 7. Morning check-in. I jumped at the sound of Daniel's voice. I scrambled for the radio, my hands still shaking. This is lookout 7, I croaked. My voice was raw, hoarse. Everything all right? Daniels asked. I opened my mouth to tell him what happened. To ask what the hell was out there. But something stopped me. A gut feeling. If I told him, would he believe me? Or would I be like Tom, my predecessor, leaving before my time was up? I swallowed hard. Yeah. Everything's fine. A pause. Then, good. I almost convinced myself I imagined the relief in his tone. Tracks in the dirt. Around noon, I finally found the courage to leave the tower. The daylight gave me false confidence, but I still carried the fire poker. Just in case. I walked down the stairs, my legs stiff from sitting all night. When I reached the ground, I stopped. My stomach twisted. Footprints. Leading from the woods to the tower. And then, leading away. I knelt down, my breath shallow. The prints were deep, too deep for a normal person's step, like something heavier had been standing there. But the worst part? The footprints weren't human. They started normal enough, boot-shaped, just like mine. But as they got closer to the tower, they changed. The last few prints had elongated. The toes had stretched, curving unnaturally, sinking deep into the dirt. My throat went dry. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over myself. Something had come to my tower last night. And it hadn't been human when it left. The visitor. That night, I locked the hatch 3 times. Checked it 6. I sat by the window, staring out at the moonlit forest. Waiting. Dreading. The radio crackled again. 11:30 p.m. Base camp to lookout 7. Nightly report. I swallowed hard and grabbed the radio. This is lookout 7. No fires. All clear. Silence. Then, Daniel spoke. Good. Anything else? I hesitated. Tell him. Tell him something is out here. But instead, I just whispered, no. Nothing else. Another pause. Understood. Good night. I set the radio down, my hands cold and clammy. A gust of wind rattled the windows. Then, a knock. On the tower door. I stopped breathing. My eyes snapped toward the hatch. Nothing. It was still locked. Knock. 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 I clamped my hand over my mouth. Someone was standing at the base of the tower. A voice called up. A man's voice. Hey. Is someone up there? I squeezed my eyes shut. No. No, no, no. Not again. I got lost, the voice continued. My flashlight's dead. Can you help me? I gritted my teeth. Do not respond. The man's voice changed. Hey. It was flat now. Emotionless. Wrong. I know you're awake. I clenched my fists. My body trembled. It knew. It always knew. Then, just like the night before. Click. My heart stopped. I turned my head slowly. The hatch handle was turning. And this time, I hadn't forgotten to lock it. The hatch handle twisted slowly, the metal creaking under pressure. My heart slammed against my ribs as I backed against the wall, gripping the rusted fire poker so hard my knuckles turned white. It's inside. It got in. That thought sent a cold wave of terror crashing over me. I watched, frozen, as the handle jerked violently. Then, silence. For a long, unbearable moment, the only sound was my own ragged breathing. My fingers ached from how tightly I clutched the poker, my arms shaking. Click. A soft sound, almost polite. The handle slowly turned back into place. The hatch didn't open. I waited, every nerve in my body screaming. Then, a voice. Right below me. Right under the hatch. Next time, you won't be so careful. A cold, shuddering breath slipped through the cracks between the wooden boards. I clamped a hand over my mouth, forcing myself not to scream. The footsteps retreated, slow and deliberate. Down the stairs. Across the clearing. Back into the trees. I didn't move. Didn't sleep. Didn't even blink. I stayed awake all night, staring at the hatch, waiting for it to move again. Morning regret. When dawn finally crawled over the horizon, I peeled myself off the floor, legs stiff, head pounding. I was exhausted, but I knew one thing for sure, something was playing with me. And I had a feeling it wasn't done yet. The radio crackled. Base camp to Lookout 7. Morning check-in. I grabbed the receiver with shaking hands. This is Lookout 7. My voice was hoarse. Daniels hesitated. Rough night? I swallowed hard. Did he know? Had this happened to others before me? I should have told him. I should have reported the voice, the footsteps, the whisper through the floorboards. But I didn't. Instead, I forced my voice to stay even. All clear. Another pause. Then, a simple, good. Then the radio went dead. A warning. By midday, I forced myself to go outside. The sunlight felt wrong, like a temporary illusion of safety. I circled the tower, scanning the ground. More footprints. But this time, they weren't alone. There were handprints in the dirt. Long, deep impressions. Like someone, or something, had dragged itself toward the stairs. I crouched down, heart hammering. The prints were twisted, wrong, like a person had walked on all fours, their fingers digging deep into the soil. Something rustled behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly fell. A man stood at the tree line, half hidden in the shadows. At first, I thought it was just Daniels, checking on me. But as I looked closer, my stomach twisted. It was Tom. The lookout before me. His clothes were dirty, his face pale, his sunken eyes locked onto me. Like he hadn't slept in days. My throat went dry. Tom. He just stood there, his chest rising and falling. Then, he whispered. Leave. A chill crawled down my spine. What? I took a step toward him. What are you? You need to leave. Now. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. His voice was low, urgent, like he was afraid of being overheard. He took a shaky breath, glancing toward the trees behind him. Then, he whispered. It gets worse. The hairs on my arms stood on end. What does? I asked, my voice barely audible. He swallowed hard. Did it knock? My blood ran cold. Tom took a step closer. Did it call your name? I shook my head, my pulse roaring in my ears. His expression darkened. It will. A gust of wind rushed through the trees, and in that moment, Tom was gone. Like he had never been there at all. The shadow on the hill. That night, I locked the hatch 5 times. Checked it 10. I didn't care if I was being paranoid. As the sky darkened, my nerves were stretched to their limit. Every rustle of the trees, every shift of the wooden beams, sent a fresh spike of fear through me. At exactly 11:30 p.m., the radio crackled. Base camp to Lookout 7. Nightly report. I hesitated before grabbing the receiver. This is Lookout 7. No fires. All clear. A pause. Then, Daniel's voice, check your perimeter. I stiffened. My hands felt ice cold. What? Silence. Then, more static, like something was whispering underneath his voice. Then Daniel spoke again, but this time, it wasn't right. His voice was distorted. Too deep. Too slow. Check your perimeter. I dropped the radio. No. No, that wasn't Daniel's. Something was imitating him. I grabbed my binoculars, heart hammering, and scanned the tree line. At first, I saw nothing. But then. My hands clenched the binoculars so hard they nearly cracked. At the far edge of the clearing, standing at the top of the hill, was a figure. Tall. Motionless. Watching. My breath caught in my throat. It had no face. Just a smooth, pale expanse of skin where eyes and a mouth should have been. I blinked. It was closer now. I yanked the binoculars away, heart pounding. I didn't hear it move. I didn't see it step forward. But when I looked again, it was halfway down the hill. I choked on a gasp. I lowered the binoculars, my hands shaking. Then, from the darkness outside the tower. Knock. 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 A voice followed, smooth as silk, laced with amusement. I see you. And then. The hatch unlocked. Click. The hatch unlocked. A slow, deliberate movement. Not an accident. Not the wind. My breath stopped in my throat. I had locked it. 5 times. Checked it 10. And yet, it was opening. The fire poker trembled in my hands as I stared at the handle, waiting, dreading, the moment it would lift all the way. The voice from outside whispered again, soft and coaxing. I see you. A chill scraped down my spine. I clenched my fists, willing myself not to scream. Then, the hatch creaked open, just an inch. A sliver of darkness yawned beneath it. A pause. Then, something shifted in the stairwell below. A sound like wet fabric dragging across wood. I swallowed hard. It was inside. I took a slow, shuddering step backward, my fingers aching from how tightly I gripped the poker. From beneath the hatch, something breathed. A slow, rattling inhale, thick and wet. Then, a whisper. "Let me in." I clamped my hand over my mouth, heart slamming against my ribs. It wasn't asking. It was mocking me. Then, a hand emerged from the darkness. Not a normal hand. The fingers were too long, too thin, stretching unnaturally as they curled over the edge of the hatch. The skin was gray and wrong, stretched tight over jutting bones. It gripped the wood and pulled. I moved. With every ounce of strength I had, I lunged forward and slammed the hatch shut, ramming the latch into place. The instant the lock clicked, something screamed. Not human. Not animal. Something else. The tower shook as the thing below slammed against the hatch. Once. Twice. Then, silence. I didn't breathe. Didn't move. The air was thick, suffocating. My ears rang with the echo of that inhuman scream. Then, the laughter started. Soft. Mocking. It drifted up through the cracks in the floorboards, curling around me like smoke. And then, as suddenly as it had come, it was gone. I stayed awake all night, staring at the hatch, gripping the poker like it was the only thing keeping me alive. A message from the past. Morning came like a fragile illusion of safety. I barely noticed it. My hands still shook, my body stiff with exhaustion. The radio crackled. Base camp to Lookout 7. Morning check-in. I grabbed the receiver, my voice barely above a whisper. "This is Lookout 7. Daniels paused. "Everything all right?" I hesitated. Then, I forced myself to say, "Yeah." Another pause. Then Daniels spoke, his voice lower than usual. "Check the desk drawer." A chill ran through me. The desk? But before I could finish, the radio went dead. I turned to the wooden desk in the corner. I had barely touched it since I got here. My hands trembled as I yanked the drawer open. Inside, beneath a layer of old papers, was a tattered notebook. I flipped to the first page. A name was scrawled across the top. Tom. My stomach twisted. Tom. The previous lookout. The one who had vanished. I turned the page, my pulse roaring in my ears. His handwriting was frantic, the ink smudged in places like he had been writing in a hurry. Day 3. It knocked. It whispered. I ignored it. Day 5. It got in. I don't know how. I locked everything. I swear I did. Day 7. It's playing with me. It copies voices now. Daniels. My own. I don't trust the radio anymore. My breath hitched. It can copy voices. My eyes darted to the radio. Was I even speaking to the real Daniels just now? I kept reading. Day 9. If you're reading this, it's too late for me. But listen carefully, there is a rule missing from the list. A missing rule. I grabbed the notebook with shaking hands and turned the page. The last entry made my blood run cold. Do not look at it if it climbs the tower. My breath caught in my throat. And then. Knock. 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 From inside the tower. Right behind me. The eyes at the window. I turned around slowly. Nothing was there. But the air was wrong. Heavy. Charged with something unseen. I clutched the notebook to my chest and took a shaky step forward. Then. Something tapped on the window. Not hard. Soft. Deliberate. Tap. 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 My stomach twisted. The missing rule. Do not look at it if it climbs the tower. My breathing turned shallow. I kept my eyes down. But I could feel it. Something was there, just outside the window. Watching. Waiting. My fingers dug into the notebook. My whole body screamed to run, to hide, to look. I clenched my teeth and whispered, "No." A pause. Then, a whisper against the glass. "Look at me." My eyes burned. My neck ached with the effort of keeping my head down. "Look at me." A shadow moved at the edge of my vision. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. My chest was too tight. Then. The whisper changed. It became my voice. "Please. Just look at me." A sob caught in my throat. My fingers twitched. The thing at the window laughed. It knew. It knew how badly I wanted to. Then, the glass shattered. The tower rocked as something crawled inside. And I was trapped. The window shattered. I barely had time to react before the wind howled through the tower, scattering papers and rattling the lantern on my desk. I didn't look up. I couldn't. The missing rule echoed in my head. Do not look at it if it climbs the tower. Something dragged itself inside. I heard it, wet, deliberate movements across the wooden floor. A clicking sound, like long fingers tapping against the planks. My whole body went rigid. I gripped the fire poker so tightly my knuckles turned white. It was behind me now. I could feel it. A presence. Too large, too wrong. Its breath was uneven, thick, like something struggling to mimic the rise and fall of human lungs. It shifted closer. Step. Step. Tap. 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 A whisper, low, smooth, and sickly sweet. "You can look now." My breathing turned shallow. It was taunting me. I clenched my teeth, staring straight ahead, focusing on the cracked radio, the tattered notebook on my desk, anything but the thing behind me. A low chuckle slithered through the air. Then, it started moving. Crawling. I heard the sickening drag of its limbs across the floor, circling me, moving just out of sight. Then, it did something that made my blood turn to ice. It began humming. A tuneless, broken melody. My voice. It was humming with my voice. I clenched my fists, my nails biting into my palms. Stay calm. Do not react. Do not look. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing it to go away. A pause. Then, a single finger traced along the back of my neck. Cold. Wrong. The touch of something that shouldn't exist. I couldn't help it, I flinched. The humming stopped. The air grew still. The thing behind me let out a slow, rattling breath. Then, in a perfect, whispered mimicry of my own voice, it spoke. "Gotcha. The radio knows." I bolted. I dove toward the opposite side of the room, nearly knocking over the desk in my blind scramble. The thing lurched after me. The entire tower shook as it moved, its limbs smacking against the wood with unnatural force. I didn't dare look, but I could hear it, a grotesque mixture of slithering and jerking, like something trying to move in a body that wasn't meant for it. I grabbed the radio with shaking hands and smashed the call button. "Daniels. Help. It's inside. Static." Then. "Base camp to lookout 7. Daniel's voice. My stomach twisted. Was it really him? The thing crawled closer. I backed up against the railing, one step away from the broken window. Then, something new. A second voice came through the radio. Hoarse. Weak. Desperate. "Don't listen. That's not Daniel's." My breath caught in my throat. I knew that voice. Tom. The previous lookout. The one who had vanished. The radio crackled violently, the voices overlapping. "Daniels, look at it. Let it see you." Tom, if you look, you're dead. My heart pounded. I gripped the railing behind me. Then, the thing let out a horrible, bone-deep clicking sound. Like it was laughing. It lunged. The drop. I didn't think, I just reacted. As the thing rushed forward, I threw myself out the broken window. Falling. The night air rushed past me as the ground came up fast. Then, impact. Pain exploded through my legs as I hit the ground hard. I crumpled, breath knocked from my lungs. Above me, the tower shuddered. For a moment, there was nothing but the wind. Then, a single, long-fingered hand curled over the window frame. I stared, horror gripping me. The thing was watching. Waiting. It wasn't following me down. It didn't need to. It let out a soft, rattling breath. Then, in my own voice, it whispered. See you soon. The hatch above slammed shut. And the light inside went out. The woods are not safe. I forced myself to move, biting back a cry as I staggered into the tree line. I needed to get out of here. But as soon as I stepped into the woods, I knew I had made a mistake. The silence was unnatural. The trees felt wrong, taller than they should be, the branches twisted in unnatural angles. The shadows shifted. Footsteps. Not just one pair. Many. Then, voices. Familiar voices. Daniel's. My mother. My best friend from childhood. All speaking at once, whispering from the trees. Calling my name. Come here. We're waiting. You're almost home. I squeezed my hands over my ears, but the voices only grew louder. Something moved between the trees. Tall, pale figures with smooth faces. Watching. Smiling. I took a step back. And my foot hit something. I turned slowly. There, half buried in the dirt, was a rotting hand. The sleeve of a park ranger's uniform clung to the withered flesh. And next to it, half hidden by the undergrowth, a name tag. I swallowed hard, dread creeping up my spine. The name read. Tom. My heart stopped. Then, a hand clamped onto my ankle. And pulled. The hand grabbed my ankle. It was cold, the flesh slick and decayed. The fingers tightened with unnatural strength, pulling me down into the earth. I screamed, kicking wildly, but the thing beneath the soil didn't let go. Dirt shifted. Something was crawling up. A second hand broke the surface. Then a face. Or what was left of one. Half-rotted skin peeled away from a skull, empty sockets where eyes should have been. The mouth hung open, filled with dirt and writhing things that had no business being there. But despite the ruin of its face, it was smiling. And then, it spoke. Help me. A distorted, garbled voice. Tom's voice. My stomach lurched. The thing lurched forward, dragging itself free from the earth. Bones snapped. Flesh sloughed off. I yanked my leg back, but its grip was unbreakable. It was pulling me under. I grabbed onto the nearest tree, digging my nails into the bark. Let go. I screamed, kicking again. The corpse let out a gurgling chuckle, then whispered, "We all belong here." I clawed at the dirt, panic thrumming through my veins. I couldn't let this happen. Then, the whispers started again. From the trees. From the ground. From the dark. Come back. Don't run. Stay with us. The voices overlapped, growing louder, turning into an unnatural, inhuman chorus. I squeezed my eyes shut. No. No. I wasn't going to die like this. I reached for the fire poker still strapped to my belt. With everything I had, I swung it down. Crack. The thing shrieked as the poker smashed into its wrist, snapping the bones. The grip loosened, just enough for me to tear free. I scrambled back, panting, dirt clinging to my skin. But the thing wasn't done. It started rising. More skeletal hands pushed through the soil, clawing their way into the world. There were more of them. Too many. I turned and ran. The wrong path. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. The trees twisted around me, the forest shifting like a maze. I wasn't alone. The whispers followed, curling around me like smoke. The things in the trees were moving. I could hear them, soft footsteps, distorted breathing, the sickening crunch of bones bending the wrong way. I glanced over my shoulder. Shadowy figures slid between the trees, impossibly fast. Their faces were blank, their heads twitching at unnatural angles. One of them smiled. I ran faster. My lungs burned. The air was too thick, filled with the scent of rot. Then, I saw it. A cabin. Small. Old. The windows were boarded up. But there was light inside. I didn't think, I just sprinted for it. I reached the door and slammed my fists against it. Let me in. Silence. Then, a click. The door creaked open. I stumbled inside and kicked it shut behind me. For a moment, I just stood there, chest heaving, my body screaming in pain. Then, I turned to see who had let me in. A man sat in the corner, barely visible in the dim lantern light. His face was gaunt, eyes sunken deep into his skull. He looked like he hadn't seen daylight in years. Slowly, he lifted his head. And my blood turned to ice. It was Tom. Tom's warning. I took a step back, my whole body trembling. That's impossible. Tom tilted his head, his cracked lips stretching into a humorless smile. Yeah. Tell me about it. I couldn't breathe. I had seen his corpse. I had felt its hands on me, dragging me down. But here he was, alive. I glanced around the cabin. It was cramped, cluttered, the air stale and heavy with dust. Scattered around the room were notebooks. Hundreds of them, piled high, pages filled with frantic, desperate writing. How are you here? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tom exhaled sharply. Same as you. I ran. I swallowed hard. Ran from what? His expression darkened. Then, he said something that made my stomach drop. You already know. The whispers outside grew louder. I flinched. Tom didn't. He just stared at me with empty eyes. They want you now. My blood ran cold. Why? Tom didn't answer. He just stood up, slowly, his movement stiff like he had forgotten how to use his own body. Then he walked to the wall. Pinned there, beneath a rusted hunting knife, was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was rushed, uneven. I stepped closer, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was a list. New rules. And at the bottom, scrawled in large, shaking letters, was the final warning. If you're reading this, it's already too late. A sudden knock at the door. Soft. Gentle. Tap. 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 Tom's expression didn't change. He didn't move. The knocking came again. This time, from the window. I felt it before I saw it. A shadow loomed behind me. Something was inside the cabin. I turned around, my breath catching in my throat. And standing in the doorway, grinning ear to ear, was me. I froze. The thing in the doorway looked exactly like me. Same hair, same clothes, even the same cut on my cheek from earlier. But its smile was wrong. Too wide. Too full of teeth. And then, it spoke. "Hey, buddy." My voice. But not quite right. Like someone trying to remember how to sound human. Tom grabbed my wrist, his grip like a vice. His eyes were wild. "Don't move." The thing took a step forward. Its limbs jerked unnaturally, like a puppet on broken strings. "We need to talk," it said, voice syrupy sweet. "You've been breaking the rules." Tom's grip tightened. "It wants you to respond," he whispered. "Don't." I pressed my lips together, heart hammering. The thing grinned wider. "Oh, come on," it purred, tilting its head. "It's just us. You can trust yourself, can't you?" Then, it mimicked me. The same exact nervous swallow I'd just done. The same exact shaky breath. My stomach turned to ice. Tom suddenly lunged, grabbing something from the desk, a knife. The thing in the doorway laughed. Then, with a horrific, wet crunch, its head twisted all the way around. Spinning. Snapping. It cracked into place, backward. Still smiling. "That's not very nice," it said, its voice now layered. Like multiple voices speaking at once. And then, with impossible speed, it charged. "We shouldn't be here." Tom shoved me aside just as the thing lunged. It didn't walk. It didn't run. It glided. 1 second, it was at the doorway, the next, it was inches from my face. I barely had time to react before Tom swung the knife. Slash. The blade tore across its cheek, splitting the skin open. But there was no blood. Just, more teeth. Layer upon layer of needle-sharp teeth beneath its skin. It grinned. Then, it grabbed Tom by the throat. He choked, struggling, his boots scraping against the wooden floor. I lunged forward, grabbing a chair and smashing it over the thing's head. The impact sent it staggering back. Tom collapsed to the floor, coughing violently. I grabbed his arm and yanked him up. "We need to run." Tom didn't hesitate. We bolted for the back door. I didn't dare look back. But I heard it. The way its bones cracked and snapped as it started moving again. The way it laughed. "You can't run from yourself. The forest won't let us leave." We ran blindly into the trees. Branches tore at my skin. My breath came in ragged gasps. Tom was wheezing beside me. But no matter how fast we ran, the footsteps followed. Fast. Too fast. And worse, the woods were changing. The trees were moving. I saw it happen. 1 second, there was a clear path ahead, the next, the trees shifted, twisting into an unbroken wall. Trapping us. Tom grabbed my arm, dragging me left. The forest wouldn't let us leave. I risked a glance back. The thing was still following. But now, it wasn't alone. More figures had stepped from the shadows. Tall, faceless things. Their heads twitched at unnatural angles. Their arms were too long. They watched us run, their expressionless faces tilting in eerie synchronization. Then, they started moving. Their footsteps made no sound. They glided through the trees, faster than anything should move. One of them reached for me. Its fingers, too many fingers, brushed my shoulder. And suddenly, I wasn't in the forest anymore. The tower calls me back. I gasped, staggering forward, nearly collapsing. I was back at the base of the fire tower. The sky above was wrong. The stars were twisting, writhing, forming shapes that shouldn't exist. Tom was beside me, breathing hard, his face pale with shock. He looked up. I followed his gaze. And froze. The tower was lit up again. A faint glow flickering from the windows. Like someone was waiting for me. Then, The radio on my hip crackled to life. A familiar voice. My voice. It's time to come back. I took a step backward, my whole body trembling. The radio buzzed again. This time, it wasn't my voice. It was Daniel's. "Lookout 7, do you copy?" I hesitated. Tom grabbed my wrist, shaking his head violently. "Don't answer." But Daniels kept talking. And what he said made my stomach drop. "Come in, Lookout 7. We've been trying to reach you for 3 weeks. 3 weeks." I felt the blood drain from my face. That wasn't possible. I had just started this job. Hadn't I? I turned to Tom, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. His face was grim. He knew something I didn't. The radio crackled one more time. And then, in a distorted, broken voice, Daniels said, "Climb the tower. It's the only way out." I lifted my head, staring at the fire lookout above. The light inside flickered. And then, a shadow moved in the window. Someone was up there. Waiting. For me. Tom exhaled shakily. Then he whispered, "Whatever you do, don't go back up there." And behind us, in the dark of the woods, the whispers started again. "Climb the tower. It's the only way out." Daniel's voice crackled from the radio, warping in and out like a bad signal. But Tom's grip on my arm was iron-tight. "You can't listen to him." His voice was low, urgent. "It's a trick." I turned to look at him, but my body felt disconnected. My mind was still stuck on what Daniels had said. 3 weeks. He claimed I had been missing for 3 weeks. But that was impossible. Hadn't I just arrived? Hadn't I just started my shift? Hadn't I? A horrible doubt slithered into my thoughts. What if I had been here longer than I thought? What if I had been in the woods this entire time, lost? Something inside me twisted. I turned my gaze back to the fire tower. It loomed above us, impossibly tall, the warm glow of light spilling from its windows. The shape in the window was still there. Watching. Waiting. And then, it moved. A hand pressed against the glass. My hand. It was me. My breath hitched. The me in the window cocked its head at an unnatural angle, then slowly, deliberately, lifted one hand. And waved. A chill ran through me, deep and bone-cutting. Tom yanked me backward. "Stop looking at it." But I couldn't. The figure in the window kept waving, its smile widening. And then, from behind us, a new voice spoke. "Go back up." I whirled around. My stomach dropped. Because standing at the base of the tower, half-shrouded in darkness, was Daniels. The man who shouldn't be here. Daniels looked exactly the same as when I had last seen him. Same uniform. Same calm, professional expression. But his eyes were wrong. Too dark. Too empty. Tom immediately stepped in front of me. "That's not him." Daniels, or whatever was wearing his face, smiled. "Why are you listening to him?" he asked, voice smooth. "You know he doesn't belong here." The words sent a ripple of unease through me. Tom didn't belong here. I glanced at him. His jaw was clenched, hands balled into fists. Daniels tilted his head, eyes locked on mine. "Come on, kid," he said. "You're lost. You need to go back up." I swallowed hard. "You said I've been missing for 3 weeks." Daniels nodded. "You have." The weight of his words pressed down on me like a sickness. 3 weeks. Could that be true? Had I been wandering these woods, caught in some kind of loop? Daniels took a step forward. "You're not supposed to be down here." Another step. Too smooth. Too unnatural. Tom's grip on my wrist tightened. We need to leave. Now. But my body refused to move. Because deep down, a horrible thought was taking root. What if Tom was the one lying to me? What if Daniels was right? What if the tower was the only way out? I took a step forward. Daniel's smile widened. That's it, kid. But then, from behind us, the whispers came back. Closer. Stronger. The forest was waking up. Tom grabbed my collar and yanked me back. Run. We shouldn't be here. We ran blindly into the trees. The shadows were moving. I heard them behind us, whispers, laughter, bones cracking as something unnatural followed. Daniels didn't chase us. He didn't need to. Because whatever was out here was already waiting. I could feel them, things in the trees, things under the dirt, things watching us from the darkness. The forest was alive. And it didn't want us to leave. Tom suddenly yanked me to the side. We tumbled down a slope, crashing through the undergrowth. I hit the ground hard, my head snapping back against the dirt. Pain exploded through my skull. I groaned, trying to push myself up. Tom shoved me down. Don't move. I barely had time to process his words before I heard it. Something was walking past us. Slow. Deliberate. I turned my head just slightly, and froze. Not human. It was tall. Too tall. Its body was thin and wrong, draped in tattered, shifting shadows. Its head. God. Its head was just a mass of twisting mouths. It moved past us, its footsteps making no sound. Then, without warning, it stopped. Turned. And looked right at me. A dozen mouths grinned at once. Found you. The thing lunged. The tower calls me back. Tom shoved me aside. The thing's clawed hand raked across my shoulder, sending a jolt of burning pain through me. I hit the ground, my vision swimming. Tom grabbed me, dragged me to my feet. Move. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, I just ran. Branches whipped past. My breath came in sharp, ragged gasps. And then, suddenly, the trees parted. And I was back at the tower. Tom staggered to a stop beside me. Behind us, the whispers were closing in. There was nowhere else to run. I turned to Tom, panting. What do we do? His face was pale. I don't know. I looked up at the tower. It stood there, waiting. Inside, the light flickered. The shape in the window smiled. And then, the radio crackled. Daniel's voice, clearer this time. Come back, Lookout 7. It's time to go home. I took a shaky step forward. Because deep down, in the pit of my gut, I knew something terrible. One way or another, I was going back up that tower. The fire tower loomed above us, its light flickering like a dying heartbeat. Behind us, the whispers closed in. I could hear something moving in the dark, too many footsteps, too many voices speaking in a language that wasn't meant for human ears. And above, in the window of the tower, my own face stared back at me. Smiling. Waiting. Tom grabbed my arm. Don't do this. His voice was raw, desperate. You don't have to go up there. But he was wrong. I did have to go. Because deep down, I knew, this wasn't just about escape anymore. This tower was the center of everything. The rules. The things in the woods. The lost time. It all started here. And somehow, I knew it would end here, too. I turned to Tom, my throat dry. If I don't go up there, we'll never get out. His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he would stop me. Then, he let go. His expression was tight, pained. "I'll be right behind you." I nodded, then turned back toward the tower. And started climbing. The ascent. The stairs groaned under my weight, each step sending a pulse of dread through my chest. The air grew colder the higher I climbed. Not just cold, wrong. Like something was watching me. Like something was waiting. Tom's footsteps followed behind me, steady but tense. Neither of us spoke. Halfway up, the whispers changed. They laughed. Low, guttural, mocking. Then, something brushed my ankle. I yanked my foot up instinctively, my stomach twisting. There was nothing there. Just empty space. But the air below me, it shifted. Like something had just moved. My breath hitched, but I forced myself to keep going. Almost there. I reached the final stretch of stairs, my heart pounding. And then, as I placed my foot on the last step, the door swung open. By itself. Welcoming me in. Tom muttered a curse behind me. "This is a bad idea." I swallowed. "I know." And then, slowly, I stepped inside. The room that shouldn't exist. The air inside was thick. Heavy. Like I had stepped into a place that didn't belong in this world. The interior looked normal at first glance, exactly as I had left it. Desk. Radio. Cot. But something felt off. Then, I noticed the walls. They were breathing. The wood expanded and contracted, like a pair of massive lungs. And in the center of the room, there was a chair. It faced away from me, toward the window. Someone was sitting in it. My stomach twisted. I didn't need to see the face to know who it was. It was me. The other me sat perfectly still, hands resting on the chair's arms. Then, it turned its head. Slowly. Too slowly. Its neck stretched in ways it shouldn't, bones cracking wetly. And when our eyes met, I felt myself falling. The thing that wears my skin. I wasn't in the tower anymore. I was somewhere else. Somewhere dark. Endless. The world stretched around me, twisting like a reflection in broken glass. And the other me was there, standing a few feet away. It grinned. Then, in my voice, it said, "You've been here before." My chest tightened. "What are you?" I whispered. It tilted its head. "I am you. The part of you that never left." I shook my head, backing away. "That's not possible." The thing laughed. "The fight for myself." I hit the ground hard, pain exploding through my skull. The thing pinned me down, its hands ice-cold against my skin. Its face, my face, shifted, warping between my features and something else. Something older. Hungrier. "You belong here." I thrashed against its grip, gasping for air. The walls around us shuddered. The floor cracked. The tower itself was collapsing. Tom's voice broke through the chaos. "Get up." Suddenly, the weight lifted. Tom had ripped the thing off me, shoving it back. But it didn't fall. It just hovered there. Grinning. Tom grabbed my arm, yanking me to my feet. "We have to go, now." I barely had time to react before the world shifted. And suddenly, we were falling. The tower calls me home. I hit the ground with a sickening crunch. The impact knocked the air from my lungs, my vision swimming. When I opened my eyes, the tower was gone. Just, gone. Like it had never been there at all. Tom lay beside me, groaning. "Did we?" Before he could finish, the radio on my hip crackled. A voice, Daniel's voice. "See you soon, kid." I grabbed the radio and hurled it into the trees. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the whispers were gone. The woods were silent. Tom and I locked eyes. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I asked the only question that mattered. Are we finally free? Tom didn't answer. Because deep down, we both knew the truth. You never really leave this place. You just forget. The tower was gone. The whispers had vanished. And yet, as I lay there on the forest floor, gasping for breath, something deep inside me knew. We weren't free. Tom sat up beside me, his face pale and bruised. He stared at the empty space where the tower had once stood, his breathing ragged. It's over, he muttered, but there was no relief in his voice. I wanted to believe him. But I couldn't. Because something still felt wrong. The woods were too quiet. No birds. No wind. Just, nothing. Then. The radio crackled. My blood turned to ice. I had thrown it into the trees. It should have been gone. But the static grew louder, sharper. And then, in a voice that wasn't Daniel's anymore. Lookout 7, report in. I froze. The air grew heavy again, thick with something unseen. Then, out of the silence. A footstep. Behind me. I turned slowly. And my stomach dropped. The tower was back. Standing tall, untouched, as if it had never disappeared. And worse. The cabin light was on. Something moved inside. Something that looked exactly like me. The loop. My mind was screaming run, run, run. But my body wouldn't move. I felt rooted to the ground, like the forest itself was holding me in place. Tom grabbed my arm, shaking me. We have to get out of here. But the radio crackled again. And this time, the voice was mine. Lookout 7, report in. The words made my skin crawl. I looked at Tom, my voice barely a whisper. I think I've done this before. Tom's face went slack. No. But I knew. Somewhere deep inside me, I knew. I had been here before. I had climbed that tower. I had met myself. And I had failed to escape. Every single time. The choice. The air shifted. The trees seemed to close in, warping at the edges. We didn't have much time. Either we ran. Or I climbed. Tom's grip on my arm tightened. Don't do it. I looked at him, really looked at him. The exhaustion. The fear. And then I realized. He wasn't supposed to be here. This was my loop. Not his. Which meant. He could leave. But only if I stayed. I swallowed hard. Tom. His eyes flicked to mine. You have to go. His face twisted in anger. No way in hell am I leaving you here. But he didn't understand. This was never about escape. This was about breaking the cycle. If I ran, it would all start over. The tower would call me back. The whispers would find me again. I would wake up here, lost, trapped in the woods. And it would never end. But if I stayed. If I climbed. Maybe Tom could get out. Maybe one of us could be free. I forced a weak smile. I think that's the rule we never figured out. His expression crumbled. Don't do this. I squeezed his hand. Run, Tom. While you still can. And then, before he could stop me, I turned. And walked toward the tower. Becoming the lookout. The air grew thicker with every step. I placed my foot on the first stair. And a wave of déjà vu hit me like a freight train. I had done this before. 1,000 times. I climbed higher, the steps creaking beneath me. The door stood open, waiting. I stepped inside. The light was flickering. The air was breathing. And there, in the chair, facing the window, was me. It turned its head, that same twisted, unnatural movement. It grinned. And this time, I grinned back. The radio on the desk hissed. I picked it up, brought it to my lips. And as the static cleared, I spoke the words I had always been meant to say. Lookout 7, reporting in. The endless watch. Far below, in the forest, Tom ran. He didn't look back. And as the night swallowed him, I hoped, prayed, he made it. Because it was too late for me. I belonged to the tower now. And soon. It would call someone else. It always did. And when they arrived, I would be waiting. Watching. Because the tower always needs a lookout. And now, I am the watcher. And I will never leave. The end.